Fifth time is the charm. Pastor Sam here with your Latin America War Report and migrant invasion news. I've got my new screen up. It's going to allow me to show some maps, some videos, some news articles, so you'll have some sourcing for some of my more controversial assertions. But as usual, we are looking at Latin American culture in the first minute of our broadcast. And we talked about El Santo and the Máscara de Plata, the silver mask, and how this is the Superman and kind of the national hero of Mexico. This is a famous film of El Santo against the mummies of Guanajuato. Some people know that in pre-Columbian cultures, there were numerous great empires that did mummify their dead in Latin America, to include Mexico. And the state of Guanajuato is known as a place where there are numerous artifacts and mummified remains. So this figures large. These are the adversaries. These are the demonic monsters that occur in this culture. And when they come up, it's the job of El Santo to put on his silver mask and to deal with these troublemakers. So this is the Mexican Superman. And I don't know, maybe I'll just let that play. Maybe we'll go back to our maps. It's a lot of fun to see how people in other parts of the world view heroism and independence and righteousness. So this is one of their heroes. We've got Captain America. Mexico's got El Santo. There's an awful lot going in Venezuela this weekend. Busy weekend of protests. Everybody's tweeting about it. Pompeo's tweeting about it. Mike Pence is tweeting about it. Venezuela dollarized over the weekend. They left their currency, the Bolivar, which was into the hundred thousands of bolivars per dollar. People are still living on $10 a month there. You know, the CNN fake news correspondent, this was months ago, but he went into one of the party stores that only Communist Party members are allowed in. And he said, look at this. They say there's no dog food. There's people eating their dogs for starvation in Venezuela. Right here it is. It was $21 when the average person's getting paid $10 a month. So that's what your fake news says, is that everything's okay. Fact is, there's tremendous poverty, and we really need to step in. And the protests are going to a new level, and Maduro may lose power, and there may be an American intervention. We'll just see, but it's been a very, very, very busy time of protests. In Bolivia, Janine Áñez, the new interim president, has been very busy. She threw out the Cuban doctors. You know, one of the things that Cuba does is they say, oh, we have educated medical professionals. You know, they get paid the same thing as a soda jerk or a barista in a communist country anyway. So there's no real benefit to being a medical doctor. Che Guevara was famously a medical doctor. So there were a lot of medical professionals from Cuba. And this is how Cuba exports its ideology, is by having trained professionals that go and do this. Well, Bolivia kicked them all out. The protests are going to a new level. And, you know, if you want to believe that it's all indigenous, please look back on my October 12th article on subscribestar.com/gospel gunslingers, where I discuss the fact that the indigenous groups are front groups. And, you know, the Catholic Church has been the persecutor in chief. It wasn't the pilgrims of the USA that persecuted and raped and destroyed nations. It was the Catholic Church. And now they've flipped around and they front up these indigenous groups for their own purposes. And the fact is, most of these indigenous peoples, it's not that they're Indian, they're part of Morales's party of drug growers. And so they're going to have to find a new career. They're just going to have to quit growing cocaine. So that's what it's going to take to have a free Bolivian. It's not that big of a deal. Finally, in the Bolivian election, Luis Almagro, the OAS Secretary General, came out and said that there were two Argentine spies that had infiltrated his team when they went in to look at the election in Bolivia. And of course, they said that there was clear indication of manipulation, which is what set these protests in order and caused Evo Morales' resignation. But there were communist spies from the Peronist elements of Argentina that he said had no electoral background and they had no business being on there. And they tried to interpose themselves and even out the whistleblowers that told Almagro and the OAS that there was manipulation. So there's a lot going on. It's coming to America. I hope you're watching. I'm Pastor Sam.